So it can be a bit of a minefield to understand the different care options available. So we're hoping to provide some input on the different options available. So I'm Lisa Emmett, I'm lead physiotherapist and joint clinical lead with the home ventilation team in Leeds.
I'm Sarah. I've been an HMV user for 32 years, and I live in my own home and receive support from a team of personal assistants who I recruit and employ via a personal health budget with continuing healthcare funding.
I'm Sue. I'm a PA for Sarah and have been for probably over 15 years now, helping her in every aspect of daily life, including home ventilation.
I'm Kathryn Shackleton. I am the main carer for my husband who has motor neurone disease. He was diagnosed 4 years ago and he was given a tracheostomy very shortly after diagnosis. And then more recently, 2 years ago, he started using a ventilator.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Kate Steele. I'm the Paediatric Clinical Director for Health and Social Care Services. And we're a specialist provider of home care services for people who need complex needs care at home. I'm a children's nurse by background, and prior to this job, I led the long-term ventilation children's team in Southampton. And I was kindly invited here today by Kathryn Shackleton because her husband Ian is one of our clients. So thank you, Kathryn.
I'm a PA for two young gentlemen in Leeds. One's Stephen, my brother. He has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And one's Ben. Ben's kind of like a cousin. I've grown up with him. He's got Duchenne muscular dystrophy, both on full-time ventilation. And I've worked in care for 15 years.
If we could just start with finding out people's overall experiences of care. So Sarah and Kathryn particularly, have you generally found your experiences to be positive? Have you had some issues in the past? Or what have your views generally been? So Sarah?
I think my experience has been very positive. I've been employing PAs for 26 years, and for me it was a huge milestone. I wasn't really sure what was going to happen in my adult life. I didn't, prior to that, I'd been receiving support from my family, and this really signalled a huge, leap in independence and confidence, and the self-directed care has worked really well for me. I think it was the right choice. It's not for everybody, but it was for me, and it meant that I could have choice, the control of my own care. I started with adult social care, and then because when I moved out of the family home, it then went to needing 24-hour care, which that was quite a formative event for me. And just being awake, standing on my own 2 feet, for want of a better expression. And it's really gone very well ever since. You're always going to have more challenging times, but I've got a brilliant team, long-standing employees, and yes, it provides the foundation for the rest for me to get on with the rest of my life.
No, that's really good to hear. And then Kathryn, at what point did Ian realise that he needed some more support at home, some more assistance? Was there anything in particular?
Yes, well, it's never been his choice to have any kind of care. And so I was always keen to do the caring myself. And I did that as far as I could until it was too much. So he initially he got a tracheostomy when he was still walking and moving around himself, even though he had MND. But it was a bulbar manifestation, which means that your swallowing goes, etc. So he had a tracheostomy very early on, and we were told you need a care at home. We didn't want to do that, but we accepted. It was CHC funded, and they were keen to pay. And I don't think Ian would have been discharged from hospital without any care, apart from me. So we started off with just 3 nights a week, and we did that for 2 years. But that eventually that took its toll because Ian had a chest infection, and I was getting up 7 times a night to look after him, and it was just too much. Like, of course, I didn't admit that. It took him going into hospital to get the chest infection sorted out and coming out with a ventilator 6 weeks later. It took that to kind of force us to think we really need to have more help. And by that stage, he also was getting to the point where he would need hoisting. And I started off doing that myself, but there comes a point where you can't do that alone. If the person is totally immobile, you need 2 people. So yeah, so the CHC again said, and the hospital actually said, you can't go home unless you've got 24-hour care with a ventilator and a tracheostomy, etc. So we reluctantly accepted. And of course, it was the right thing to do because it means that I can take time out theoretically when I want to, although I don't want to take too much time out from looking after it. But it gives me the ability to go out, do some shopping or whatever and see friends, which I couldn't have done if I had to do care all on my own. And because we needed 24-hour care, we spoke to HASCS about the options for that. And I think they suggested a live-in carer, but it has worked out really well. We're lucky that we've got a house that has room to have somebody living in a bedroom upstairs while we live downstairs. If you had a smaller space, I think it would be quite difficult, but for us, it's working well. So at the moment, we have a live-in carer who works from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. every day. And then we have another person who comes in to do the night shift from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. That person doesn't live in, they commute. The living carer will be here for a week at a time, and then they would swap. So we have about 5 people at the moment who look after him. So
my questions, Kathryn, was what do you know now that you wish you'd known at the start of the process?
I suppose I thought I could do everything myself, and now I know I can't. Yeah.
But it sounds like it's worked out well.
Yes, I think it has worked out very well for us. We're lucky in that we have an appropriate organisation who can deal with complex care, like Kate said. Whereas I think some people in a similar position to Ian are maybe steered down the route of carers who they have to train themselves from scratch, who don't really have any prior experience. Yeah. I did look at a personal budget as well, like Sarah has, and I was quite keen on the idea of that, but I realised, where am I going to find people to do this role? And how can I be sure that they're going to come every day? What if somebody doesn't turn up, then it's all on me to find somebody. So I think I quickly decided for us that wasn't going to work, although there's a lot of things about it that sound appealing.
Yeah. So Sarah, what were the advantages for you of going down the PA route as opposed to the care agency?
I think the number one advantage is consistency and building up that routine, that understanding, that the knowledge in how to move me carefully, safely, sort of. I always say that my PAs can understand me better than anybody just by me, moving my eyes, facial expression, because sometimes I can't communicate if I'm in a certain position or if I've got secretions building up, and they just know what I need when I need it.
Yeah.
And it's just that not having to get used to new. I mean, we still have to be prepared to get used to new people because people, are not going to stay forever. And my team has grown as my needs have grown. My team have evolved with me, and I'm sure Sue would agree that as I've got older and my condition has progressed, it's a muscle weakening condition. My needs have changed over the years, and things are harder, or they take longer. So we've tried to adapt. They've adapted with me. And yeah, I think it's got to be consistency. I recognise what Kathryn's saying about the reliability, and I think that can take time to find the right people. But when you do, and I have been very fortunate in finding people that it just works really well. And I do have my family that live close by, should I need them. So I have got sort of the plan B scenario, but that, you can't plan for everything. That's just life. But it does seem to work.
And are the carers quite flexible in covering for sickness and annual leave? And
Yeah, I it's sort of when people take on the role, it's with the understanding that there might be times when I need cover. Everyone's really good if it's a real emergency. Or if it's sickness, there have been very few times when I'm absolutely stuck. I think it's sort of a two-way thing. I can be flexible in return, and I think we've just all got a good way of working.
yeah, which is probably why you have PAs who are there for such a long time, which is testament to you. And then, Kate, what are the advantages of going down a care agency route as opposed to a PA?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's great to hear everyone's stories, and throughout my years of experience, I've got experience of working and training within a personal healthcare budget, and now I'm kind of on the other side and working with a complex care company. So I think it's really important when people are undertaking care to sort of really understand what the specifics of each options are, because they can vary differently, and what works for one doesn't work for the other, and everyone's circumstances are really unique, especially like Kathryn was saying, right down to sort of logistics of, do you have room in your house to have people stay with you. So I think one of the advantages of, with my agency hat on now, because that's what I'm doing at the moment with having a care provider, is that I think when it's a PHB, a lot of the ownership is on yourself to recruit, to train, to do all those things. And obviously, recruitment is a real difficulty, actually, as we all know, kind of recruiting into the care industry and into hospitals and nurses. There is a national crisis, and it's very difficult to recruit. And that is even more difficult, I think, when you're trying to recruit into a personal healthcare budget. So the benefits of having an agency, I think that all those sort of employment elements, the legal responsibilities, the training and supervision, the competency assessments, they're all handled by the agency themselves. We're regulated externally, so you have got that peace of mind that you have robust regulation. We always say we can never offer 100% contingency to families in terms of staff, and I think that probably is the same within a personal healthcare budget. You do your best to have contingency and backups should people not be able to come to work, but we can never offer 100% contingency. But we do have a pool of staff that we can pull in as well to kind of support families should there be sickness. The difficulty of that, as Kathryn knows, is that sometimes we are, coming to her and offering her staff that maybe don't know Kathryn's husband in as well. So that can be difficult. But I think when families are facing a really emotionally challenging time, the thought of undertaking a personal healthcare budget and arranging your own care is quite overwhelming, actually, isn't it, really? So I think sometimes going down the route of using a complex care provider, people just don't have the emotional strength sometimes to be able to do that. And I think also it's important to say that, as Sarah was saying, as people's conditions and circumstances evolve, what might be right then isn't always right now. So maybe you might start off by having a personal healthcare budget, but actually as things change, maybe a complex care provider or using an agency would be more appropriate then, or you know, or vice versa. So yeah, I think that there are advantages and disadvantages to both, aren't there, really?
Yeah. And am I right, there are two main types of care agencies? So there's yourself with the complex, but there is also a more domiciliary. And we've had experience where somebody's not been in the right agency as things have progressed. Can you just tell me a little bit about the differences between the two?
Well, domiciliary care agency would be maybe, for example, maybe someone that needs support, maybe sort of at specific times during the day, maybe sort of, you know, a visit in the morning or the afternoon to help them get dressed and washed. But their clinical needs aren't significant. They wouldn't be having a tracheostomy or a ventilator or need sort of supervision all the time. Whereas a complex care agency would be providing care for families that maybe need support with ventilation, support with feeding, medication, aren't able to find any care of their own, need care over sort of a longer period of time, or like Ian, need supervision sort of 24/7 really. So that I think it's to do with the complexity of the clinical needs and the length of time that you need to be up there to support your client or your service user. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. And then Tom, I've seen firsthand that you've got a fantastic relationship. It's almost like a friendship rather than a carer relationship. You mentioned that you've almost grown up together. So you were friends first and then the care side, is that right?
So yeah, basically my mother and Ben's mother, who I work for, met in hospital when they were around 5 years old, around the time they got diagnosed. So that's how I met Ben. I've grown up with him, family parties, whatever. And then he asked me to be his carer 15 years ago. So I've been working for him since. And I've been part of my brother's care team for 8 years now. So yeah, it just works. It's, you know, when I work for Ben, we see Stephen, we've got a good group. A good team is very important. Stephen's had such a good team for the past 15 years. He's had one carer for the past 15 years, which is, it's very rare, but it does happen. But it's just, if you can find a team, a good team, it's rare. It's not common to have a good, reliable team. So yeah.
And what qualities do you think people need to be a carer? What
Patience.
qualities do you need to have?
I work for my brother Stephen, so it's challenging at times. I'm sure he'd agree with you as well. We are brothers first, and that does come into it at times. But yeah, it just works. It works because I care a lot for him, and yeah, it's been a big change since he's been on full-time ventilation. But it's just like, I don't know, we know his needs very well. And I think with, like Sarah was saying earlier, sometimes you can't communicate what you want, where we're there, and we know what he wants before he wants it. You know, we hear his secretions and you hear it coming on his chest. You don't need to say suction. You're there with a suction. It's just little things like that. You got to really be aware. And we are. So yeah.
And people think care is being the washing, the day-to-day activities, but it's much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Stephen goes to the Leeds United football games, so does Ben. We go to a lot of heavy metal gigs. Me and Stephen, we've got one next week. We've got Download next month. Stephen's going on a European trip in a few months. He went on a cruise last year. It just keeps going, you know. He's got a lot of health issues and his health's declined dramatically in the last 2 years. But he just gets on with it because what else can you do? So just making the most of it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the group we've not really included are, obviously there are care homes as well. So there are nursing homes which are appropriate for some people and not others. And there's also many unpaid carers. I think I read that there's 5.8 million unpaid carers. And obviously, Tom, you were involved with that with your brother Stephen, and obviously Kathryn with Ian. You mentioned about him being your brother. Has it changed your relationship being a carer with Stephen?
Yeah, we ended the most stable upbringing, but we've always been close together, me and Stephen, and that's been a big part of it. But yeah, he hasn't always had care. So growing up, I used to not have to, but I kind of felt like the need to stay up late because my brother wanted to watch TV and he wanted to live his life. I had high school in the morning. I remember those nights of staying up late because he wanted to do something, and just growing up with that, and it does affect your day to day, and you're going on holidays and you're feeling guilty for leaving your brother behind, and just little things like that. But Stephen's quite independent. He's very independent. He's had the college experience. He's very sociable, so that's good. He's had his own life apart from mine, which is great, which is what I want. Yeah.
Thank you. Final question to Sarah. Sarah, what you mentioned about interviewing PAs, and you've obviously had huge success if you've managed to keep Sarah for 15 years, but what qualities would you look for in a carer? And has that changed with experience?
I think I look for good communication. I think without that, then things wouldn't work. I would also want to work with somebody that's willing to learn and understand, not just what needs to be done, but to some extent why. And also just to feel that we would be able to develop a good rapport. That's a big part of it for me, because we do spend a lot of time together, and it's sort of respect, mutual respect. There's respect for my privacy and for dignity. There's things that are essential, but that there's also things that are desirable as well. It's nice to have some sort of shared interests, but I think, just people I could get along with, people who are physically able to provide the care I need. I mean, experience is great, but it's not always the thing I look for most. Because there are training courses. We also never expect somebody to start without giving some sort of observation, shadowing first, and then a more hands-on trial and observation. There's a lot more to training now. That's not just because of my needs increasing, but also because of legislation and things that my care funders require. I usually sort of have some sort of 3-month probation period. Don't really like the word probation, sort of trial periods, better, just to see if it's a good fit for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of all, being able the two-way communication. I think I need to feel that I could say and articulate what I need. Also, I want people to ask me questions, you know, be adaptable, flexible, and talk to me if there's anything that isn't working, because I think usually we've been able to overcome anything that crops up through talking about it, or also,
Yeah.
I think, as Thomas said, patience, tolerance, care, one of those things, and maybe calmness in emergency situations, because getting in a flap doesn't. That goes for me as well. It's never a good ingredient. Because that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and Sue obviously have a good relationship. Sue, obviously, it's a very rewarding job. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be doing this job 15 years on. But there is also responsibility. But can you tell us a little bit, Sue, about your and Sarah relationship?
Yes, well, I mean, we're good friends. yeah, I mean, that was pretty quick. Like Sarah says, we've got common interests. We laugh at the same things for sure, and I think that's a really good, crucial element of our friendship, is what we laugh at and how much we laugh. Yeah, that's that's a crucial.
And I think if you're spending a lot of time with somebody, that is probably the key thing, isn't it? A mutual respect and a mutual liking of each other if you spend so long together.
Yeah, definitely. Like Sarah says, you've got to be quite prepared. I think you've got to be prepared to talk and listen, and that goes for training and daily life, and whatever mood either of us are in. We know each other very well now, I think, and I think that goes for Sarah and all of her team. She knows them very well, and the talking bit makes a big difference to if you have a gripe, we will talk about it pretty quickly, and they're always smoothed out. We always find a way to do whatever it is a different way if it's a problem. So yeah, I think talking, listening, laughing is crucial.
Sounds a good message. And then just the final question for everybody, really. Why do you think this is an important topic? And obviously, why do you think this needs to be highlighted, care in people who use a home ventilator?
For me, shall I start?
Yes, please.
Well, I mean, from my point of view, to recruit and to allow people to realise this is a great role, and not to be scared of home ventilation. It's Sarah manages most of it, and I'm led by her, and it's nothing to be feared. I think more people could take on this role if they knew a little bit more about it. When I first met Sarah, she was using a ventilator, and I'll be honest, it scared me. I didn't really know what it was. I thought it was a life support machine, and I think a lot of people think that. So yeah, information, get it out there, and I think it will help with the recruitment drive enormously.
Thank you. Tom, anything you'd like to add?
Sue said it really well, to be honest. Agree to say more information, because people just don't know. If you don't know anybody disabled, especially with a face mask, like my brother gets a lot of looks, and he has got a pink Mohican as well. But it's he does, people don't know what it is. People see the mask and they're just like, oh, what's... So if more people knew, it would help to, I don't know, just help, people just, if they don't know what they don't know. So more information, the better. And
so the World HMV Day and raising awareness will
that's
make it.
It. You do. It's a good thing, definitely. Just spread the word and keep doing this. It's good. Keep growing.
That's all right. Thank you. Is there anything anybody else would like to add that I haven't asked that you would like to mention?
I think I was just going to say, Lisa, for me, it is an incredibly rewarding job, and we all, we desperately need more people to come and help support us to care for fantastic people like Sarah and Tom's brother and Ian. But it's more about managing machines, isn't it? And it's about giving people independence and the opportunity to live a full life on their own terms at home. And I think care is what makes that independence possible, really. So yeah, it's please, come learn about ventilators. There's lots of opportunities out there now for training, whether you're working with a care provider or a PHB. So yeah, come and help us support people to be able to live independent lives as long as possible, in their own homes.
Fantastic. I couldn't have put it better myself. So thank you.